Good morning students. As you know that we have completed the syllabus of term 1. Now let's revise that particular syllabus and this revision start from chapter number 1 of geography, resources and development. Dear students, resource mean everything available in our environment which can be used to satisfy our needs provided it is technologically accessible, economically feasible and culturally acceptable. After completing all these aspects, we can say that particular object is a resource. Dear students, the process of transformation of things available in our environment involve an interactive relationship. This interactive relationship between the nature, technology and institutions and human being interact with nature through the technology and create institutions to accelerate their economic development. Resources are a function of human activities and human beings themselves are essential component of resources. That's why they transform material available in our environment into the resource and use them. Now let's see the classification of resources. Dear students, this is the general classification of resource. Natural, human and then these natural and human division subdivided by the other divisions. But here we see some specific classification such as on the basis of origin, resources can be biotic and abiotic. On the basis of exhaustibility, resources can be renewable and non-renewable. On the basis of ownership, resources can be individual, community, national and international resources. On the basis of status of development, resources can be potential, developed, stock or reserve. Dear students, because of the continuously and indiscriminately use of resources led the following major problems in our society. First of all, depletion of the resources for satisfying the greed of few individuals, accumulation of resources in few hands, which in turn divided the society into two segments, rich and poor. Rich who have resources and poor who don't have resources. Indiscriminate exploitation of resources has led to the global ecological crisis such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, land degradation, etc. Dear students, to overcome such problems, we have to sustain, and for that we need sustainable development. Sustainable development means development should take place without damaging the environment, and development in the present should not compromise with the needs of future generation. And to get such aim, in 1992 first Earth Summit was held in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil to get the same sustainable development aim. Now let's see what is resource planning and why it is so important. Dear students, planning is widely accepted strategy for the judicious use of resources. It has the importance in the country like India, which has enormous diversity in the availability of resources. In India, some regions are rich in certain resources and poor in some other resources. For example, Rajasthan is poor in water resource, but it is rich in solar and wind energy. Other than this, wastage of resource can be avoided by planning. Environmental pollution can be reduced and overexploitation of resources can be avoided with the help of resource planning. Now let's see how we can do plan resource in our India. Dear students, resource planning in India is done in 3 steps: identification and inventory of resources, evolving of planning structures with the help of suitable technology, skill and the institutional setups, and at third stage, we match that resource development plan with the overall national development plan. Along with this resource planning, we need to conserve the resources. Why? Because many resources are non-renewable and exhaustible. If we conserve them, we can use them for a longer period of time. Otherwise, they exhaust completely. It helps to reduce the wastage of resource that can help in economic progress. Along with this, resource conservation help us to protect the environment also. Dear students, next topic is land resource. We live on land, we perform our economic activities on land, we use it in the different ways. That's why the land is a natural resource at most important. It supports natural vegetation, wildlife, human life, economic activities, transport, communication system, etc. Now let's see the land use in India. Dear students, in India, land under three main relief features. 43% of our total land plans are exist. On our land, 30% mountains exist and 27% are plateaus there. Now let's see further utilization of our land. In India, land under the land use for the following purposes: forest, land not available for cultivation, other uncultivated land, fallow land, net shown area, etc. These are the percentage of land utilization in India. Dear students, just because of the continuous of our land resource and some human activities such as deforestation, overgrazing, mining, quarrying, these two have contributed significantly in land degradation. Mining sites are abundant after excavation work is complete, leaving the deep scars and traces over burdening. Dear students, there are many ways to solve the problem of land degradation. For example, afforestation, proper management of grazing can help to some extent, planting of shelter belt of plants, control on overgrazing, stabilization of sand dunes by growing thorny bushes, and the proper management of wasteland. Now the next topic of this particular lesson is soil. Soil as a resource. Dear students, soil is the most important renewable natural resource. It is the medium of plant growth and it also supports the different type of living organisms on the earth. That's why soil is a living system. Dear students, it takes millions of years to form soil up to a few centimeters in depth. Relief, parent rock, bedrock, climate, vegetation, and other form of life and time are important factors in the formation of soil. Various forces of nature such as changes in the temperature, action of running water, wind and glacier, activities of decomposers, etc. contribute to formation of soil. Chemicals and organic changes which take place in the soil are equally important. Soil also consists of organic and the inorganic materials. Now, dear students, India has varied relief features, landforms, climatic realms, vegetation types, and all these have contributed in the development of various types of soil in India. Mainly in India, soil can be classified into 6 categories: alluvial soil, black soil, red and yellow soil, laterite soil, arid soil, and forest soil. Dear students, the denudation of the soil cover and the subsequent washing down is described as the soil erosion. The processes of soil formation and erosion go on simultaneously, and generally there is a balance between these two, soil formation and soil erosion. Soil erosion can be done by water or it can be done by wind. The running water cuts through the clay soil and make deep channels known as gullies. The land becomes unfit for cultivation and is known as bad land. In the Chambal basin, such lands are called ravines. Sometimes water flow as a sheet over the large areas down a slope. In such cases, the topsoil is washed away, and this is known as sheet erosion. When wind blows and loose soil off flat or sloping land known as wind erosion. Soil erosion is also caused due to the defective methods of farming, plowing in a wrong way, that means up and down the slope form channels for quick flow of water leading to soil erosion. Dear students, we can stop this soil erosion by adopting such some methods. For example, we can do contour plowing in the hilly areas, terrace farming can be done, strip cropping can be done. We can grow shelter belt which contribute significantly to stabilization of sand. Dear students, this is the revision of chapter number 1. Now let's revise the chapter number 4, agriculture. What do you understand by agriculture? Dear students, agriculture is the art and science of cultivating soil, raising crops, and rearing livestock. Other than this, agriculture includes forestry, hunting, gathering, fishing, etc. Dear students, India is an agriculturally important country. Two-thirds of its population is engaged in agriculture activity. Agriculture is a primary activity which produces most of the food that we consume, and besides food grains, it also produces raw material for various industry. In India, agriculture sector accounts 17 to 18% of the India's GDP, and agriculture sector provide employment near about 52% of total workforce in India. Now let's see the types of farming. Dear students, at present in different part of India, the following farming systems are practiced. Primitive subsistence farming, intensive subsistence farming, commercial farming. Primitive subsistence farming. This type of farming is still practiced in few pockets of India. Primitive subsistence agriculture is practiced on small patches of land with the help of primitive tools, and it can be done by family members or the community laborers. This type of farming depends upon monsoon and natural fertility of soil and suitability of other environmental conditions to the crops grown. It is also known as slash and burn agriculture in some places. Dear students, primitive subsistence farming is known by different names in different part of the country, such as in northeastern state it is known as Jhuming, in Manipur it is known as Pamlo, Chhattisgarh and Andaman Nicobar Deepa, in Madhya Pradesh this is known as Bewar or Dahiya, so on. Dear students, intensive subsistence farming. This type of farming is practiced in area of high population pressure on land. It is labor intensive farming where high doses of biochemical inputs and irrigation are used for obtaining higher production. Though the right of inheritance leading to the division of land among successive generations, which has rendered the land holding size uneconomically. The farmer continue to take maximum output from the limited land in the absence of alternative source of livelihood. There is enormous pressure on agriculture land in intensive subsistence farming. Next is commercial farming. Dear students, the main characteristics of the commercial farming is the use of higher doses of modern inputs such as high yielding variety seeds, chemical fertilizers, insecticides, pesticides, in order to obtain the higher productivity. The degree of commercialization of agriculture varies from one region to another. For example, rice is a commercial crop in Haryana and Punjab, but in Odisha it is a subsistence crop. Plantation is also a type of commercial farming, and in this type of farming, a single crop is grown on a large area. The plantation has an interface of agriculture and industry. Plantation cover large tract of land using the capital intensive input with the help of the migrant laborers, and all the produce is used as raw material in the respective industry. So here are some examples of plantation agriculture such as tea, coffee, coconut, banana, etc. Next is the cropping pattern. India has three cropping seasons: Rabi, Kharif, and Jaid. Rabi crops are sown in winter from October to December and harvested in summer from April to June. Whereas Kharif crops are grown with the onset of monsoon in different parts of the country, and these are harvested in September, October. In between the Rabi and Kharif season, there is a short season during summer month known as Jaid season. Some of the crops producing during Jaid cropping season are watermelon, muskmelon, cucumber, vegetables, and fodder crops. Now let's see the major crops grown in India. Dear students, a variety of food and non-food crops are grown in different parts of the country depending upon the variation in soil, climate, and cultivation practices. Major crops grown in India are some food grains, crops, rice, wheat, millet, maize, pulses, etc. Rice is the staple food of India. After rice, wheat is the second most important cereal crop of India. Food crops other than grains: sugarcane, oil seeds, tea, coffee, horticulture crops. Other than food crops, there are some non-food crops such as rubber, fiber crops, cotton, jute, etc. These are the major crops grown in India. Dear students, agriculture has been practiced in India for thousands of years. Sustained use of land without compatible techno-institutional changes have hindered the pace of agriculture development. You know, in spite of development of source of irrigation, most of the farmer in our India still depend upon monsoon and natural fertility in order to carry on their agriculture. Agriculture, which provides livelihood for more than 52% of its population, needs some serious technical and institutional reforms. And that's why collectivization, consolidation of holding, corporations, abolition of jamidari, etc., were given priority to bring about the institutional reform in the country after independence. Land reform was the main focus of our first 5-year plan. The right of inheritance had already led to fragmentation of land holdings, which necessitating consolidation of holdings. Dear students, the Government of India embarked upon introducing agriculture reforms to improve Indian agriculture in 1960s and 1970s. The Green Revolution, based on the use of packaged technology, and the White Revolution, some of the strategies initiated to improve the lot of Indian agriculture. But this too lead to the concentration of development in few selected areas. Dear students, beside this, Kisan credit cards, personal accident insurance schemes, Gramin banks, cooperative societies, these are some other schemes introduced by the Government of India for the benefit of the farmers. Special weather bulletins, agricultural programs for farmer were introduced on radio television. The government also announced minimum support price, remunerative and the procurement price for important crops to check the exploitation of farmer by speculators and middlemen. In the same direction, there is one revolution which is known as Bhudan Gramdan. Dear students, Mahatma Gandhi declared Vinoba Bhave as his spiritual heir, and he also practiced in Satyagraha as one of the foremost Satyagrahis. He was one of the votaries of Gandhi's concept of Gram Swaraj. And once, when he was delivered a lecture at Pochampalli in Andhra Pradesh, some poor landless villagers demanded some land for their economic well-being, and Vinoba Bhave could not promise it to them immediately, but assured them to talk to the government of India regarding provision of land for them if they undertook cooperative farmings. Suddenly, Shri Ramchandra Reddy stood up and offered the 80-acre of land to distributed among 80 landless villagers, and this act was known as Bhudan. And later on, he traveled and introduced his ideas widely all over the India, and some zamindar owners of many villages offered to distribute some village among the landless, which was known as Gramdan. So, dear students, this Bhudan Gramdan movement initiated by Vinoba Bhave is also known as Bloodless Revolution. Now, let's see the contribution of agriculture to the national economy, employment, and what is its output. Dear students, agriculture has been the backbone of the Indian economy, though its share the gross domestic product has registered a declining trend in 1951 onwards. In 2010 and 11, about 52% of the total workforce was employed by the farm sector. The declining share of the agriculture in the GDP is a matter of serious concern because any decline and stagnation in agriculture will lead to a decline in other sphere of the economy having wider implication for society. Considering the importance of agriculture in India, Government of India made concerned effort to modernize the agriculture. Our Indian government established Indian Councils of Agriculture Research, Agriculture University, Veterinary Services, Animal Breeding Centers, Horticulture Development, Research and Development in the field of meteorology, weather forecast, etc. were given priority for improving Indian agriculture. Apart from this, improving the rural infrastructure was also considered essential for the same. Dear students, now let's see the impact of globalization on agriculture. Globalization is not a new phenomenon. It was there at the time of colonization. But dear students, under globalization, particularly after 1990s, the farmer in India have been exposed to new challenges. Despite being an important producer of rice, cotton, rubber, tea, coffee, jute, and spices, our agriculture products are not able to compete with developed countries. Today, Indian agriculture finds itself at the crossroads. To make agriculture successful and profitable, proper thrust should be given to the improvement of the condition of marginal and the small farmers. The Green Revolution promised much, but today it is under controversies. It is being alleged that it has caused land degradation due to overuse of chemicals, drying aquifers, and vanishing biodiversity. Nowadays, the keyword gene revolution include genetic engineering is much in vogue. What is genetic engineering? Dear students, genetic engineering is recognized as a powerful supplement in inventing new hybrid variety of seeds. In fact, organic farming is much in vogue today because it is practiced without factory made chemicals such as fertilizers and pesticides. It does not affect environment in a negative manner. So dear students, with this topic, revision of chapter number 4 is also completed. From my side, best wishes for your upcoming exams. Thanks.